Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health.
Show your support for Black-owned media with a tax-deductible contribution today. And don't forget to visit Clari-T Media's Tech and Swag store for gear and supplies. Thank you.
Today's live stream is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Support the San Francisco Dreamkeeper Initiative, recognizing and investing in the diverse Black and African American communities of San Francisco with a wide range of programs to support youth, families, seniors, and members of the Black LGBTQ+ communities. Dreamkeeper San Francisco is fostering hope for generations of Black people to feel free to dream boldly. Visit dreamkeepersf.org today. All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. Welcome to the State of Black Mental Health. I'm Alicia Mayo, the founder and executive producer of Clari-T Media and the Bay Area Mental Health Hour, welcoming all of you to this really exciting event. I've been putting this event together now for a couple of months, and here we are tonight. And I'm so glad that you could join us. Welcome to everyone. The State of Black Mental Health today is featuring the San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund's town hall meeting as the first part of our State of the Black Mental Health Condition in San Francisco. We want to present some education and information, resources as well as direct contact information you'll see running in the ticker below throughout this conversation. We're here for that to help inform all of you out there, but also to give you an opportunity to participate in tonight's conversation. I will also include this live stream link in the comments as the show moves on, and to give you an opportunity to share your ideas and your feelings about what you think is the current state of Black mental health in San Francisco, particularly, but across the Bay Area, wherever Black San Franciscans have ended up. And as we all know, the housing situation is pretty daunting around here lately, and we're doing our best. But wherever we are still considered San Franciscans. Well, at least I consider myself that. So welcome again. I just want to also, again, share a little bit about my role with the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds. Is I'm the project administrator. It's my responsibility to gather up all of our community members, our Black psychologists, clinical therapists, counselors, service providers, educators, ambassadors, and volunteers within the Black and African American communities of San Francisco so that we can better serve ourselves. We can inform the San Francisco Department of Public Health about the services and programs we want and need in our communities. We are a small community, but we are a strong community. And again, it is my purpose to gather us all up together so that we can have our needs met, we can save lives, and support our families. Okay, so that's my role. And I'm glad to be here, but I do want to take this time to acknowledge our ancestors before we move on. Of course, it is important that, like with the Ohlone, we recognize our African ancestors who came to the Bay Area in particular from the South, and they toiled and worked the land with their blood, sweat, and tears without pay and under very harsh conditions and under, the worst conditions that the world has seen. And that we cannot move through our lives without our daily acknowledgments of our ancestors. We are all gathered here also to pay homage to them in this way by, strengthening our people, our communities, and the generations to follow. So I do want to just acknowledge our ancestors and conduct this conversation in their honor. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to introduce to you the president of the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds Board, Dr. Harriet Stevens, with the first part of our town hall meeting. So let's see here, Dr. Stevens. Okay.
Good evening and warm greetings to all of you who are joining us. We welcome you to the San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund's Bayview Hunters Point Virtual Hall Town Hall. Bayview Hunters Point is one of our partners. I'm sure that today's discussion will allow us to gain a lot more insight into the various barriers that can at times prevent Blacks and African American citizens from seeking and accessing mental health services and the ways we can better address the issues that face our community. This will also be an opportunity to hear all the voices and give us a chance to lift each other with our knowledge and our experience. As Ms. Mayo indicated, and I think I am now sharing the screen. Ms. Mayo? Am I not sharing my screen? I can't tell.
Okay. Well, I'm sharing it. So if you can't see it, yeah, it's okay. Go ahead and just introduce, if you have your script, introduce it. I'll share the screen for you. Okay, stand by, folks, for us as we get the slide together here. Let me allow Dr. Stevens to do that, and I will bring in our guest while she gets the screen together. Let me first add Dr. Brenda Wade. Dr. Brenda Wade is a clinical psychologist. She's been here in the Bay Area. I grew up watching Dr. Brenda Wade on television. She is considered the love doctor. She covers all areas, relationships, clinical psychology, and therapy. Welcome, Dr. Wade. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. And I'm excited to be in this group of amazing Black practitioners and to show that we are all here. Often people say, where can I find a Black practitioner or psychologist? And you'll see there are a number of us right here on the screen. And if you're not in an area we can reach, we will help you find somebody. But we all need support. And we tend to, as Black people, not reach out for that support. So if there's anything I would like to add, please take away. There is support available for you. Take advantage of it.
Yes, yes. Thank you for that, Dr. Wade. Now, let me go back before I continue introducing the rest of the guests. I'll go back to Dr. Harriet Stevens there. Dr. Stevens, were you able to pull up your screen okay?
Well, it should be there.
Yes, it is here. It is here. Let me re-add it here. Okay, can you see it now?
I see the first slide. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's get started
What is
with the
it? This is your side, or am I doing this sharing?
you can do the sharing here if you.
I don't mind either way, just as long
Okay,
as we can
yeah,
see it.
it's all on you.
Okay. So we should be looking at slide. I wanted to take a moment to introduce some of the partners, our community partners here, including Western Addition, the Bayview Hunters Point, OMI, the Ocean Merced Ingleside area, Visitation Valley, Potrero Hill, and the Fillmore District, which is part of the Western Addition Fillmore. So we want to welcome all of you as our community partners tonight. The San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund's mission is to provide community-focused services to assure that the San Francisco Department of Public Health city-funded behavioral health programs are available to all communities in San Francisco. Our mission is also to make sure that we meet the unique health and cultural needs of the Black African American community through our advocacy, outreach, and recruitment efforts. And we want to ensure that everyone who needs mental health services receives culturally competent care. And that's why we're very pleased to present our panel tonight. And what Dr. Brenda Wade has already mentioned about, if you're looking for someone, a psychologist, counselor, therapist, within our culture, we are available to help you. So what do we do? It's the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds. And because we got started and I wasn't able to see all the slides, I want to take this opportunity also to introduce our board, members of our board, the Vice President, Carletta Jackson Lane, who is here and will be part of the panel. Our acting treasurer, Lisa Williams, hopefully will be able to join us. And as Ms. Mayo has already mentioned, she's our project administrator. Other board members are Dr. David Elliott Lewis, Director Gregory Ledbetter, and Director Maurice Rivers, who also is the executive director for the Ocean Merced Ingleside OMI Cultural Participation Project. In our listening audience, I think we'll also have Jeffrey Greer, who is our former executive director, and also the clerk of the Behavioral Health Commission here in San Francisco, Amber Gray. We want to welcome everyone to this program tonight. So now getting back to what we do, we want to make sure that we promote community engagement, empowerment, and we want the community to give us input. We want to know what your needs are for mental health resources and services. We also want to increase community involvement in accessing these programs and services through the work of we call it SMERF, the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds, staff, volunteers, and ambassadors. And Ms. Mayo will mention some of that work later in the program. We are also actively recruiting new members to serve on the Behavioral Health Commission here in San Francisco. This is one of 59 boards and commissions in the state of California, and it's to serve the people. And our SMERF board, which we are especially grateful because we have the flexibility to target the communities that we feel are most in need. Now I would like to turn this over to our Vice President, Carletta Jackson Lane, who will take us to the next step of looking at some of our survey questions we would like to ask.
So thank you so much, President Dr. Stevens, and thank you for the opportunity to be here today in this fabulous panel. Our first question will be, what do you actually define as a mental health means to you and your family? Obviously, in the African American community, as stated before, we have a stigma that's stated around, mental health, and we're supposed to just toughen up and take it. But the reality is that we have the right to have our own mental health services and have clinicians who actually look like us and have the empathy for the trauma that we face on a day-to-day basis, which we have actually shown in documentation now that the racism also uh, provides a factor around trauma. Excuse me. Our second question is, do you know where your mental health clinics and services are in your neighborhood? So Dr. Stevens has talked about the OMI, just talked about the Fillmore, Baby Hunters Point, Visitation Valley, Potrero Hill. And we would like to know in the chat if you know where your mental health clinics are and what are the services they provide for you. Question number 3 is, what services have you utilized at that clinic? So have you gone to that clinic? Could you please put the name of the clinic that you went to and just a brief, statement on why you were there. And then finally, do you live in the zip code of 94124, 94134, or 94118, which is Potrero Hill zip code? And that's just a yes or no answer. And this is very important for us because we are documenting in our data what exactly is the knowledge of African Americans in the Bayview District 10 area, and what knowledge do you have around mental health services? And so this is the beginning of our discussion. Thank you for your time.
And so, Ms. Mayo, I don't know if you're able to find out if we have any audience participants who would like to share.
Okay, thanks everybody for your patience tonight. I'm adding the links to the comments in the public comments for Facebook and in YouTube. These links will take you directly to the survey where the questions are. You'll have enough time to fill the surveys out. I don't see any comments so far yet, Dr. Stevens, but I will be checking the comments, and I'll also include the links in the chat for our participants. If they'd like to answer these questions, you all can. Before you became clinical psychologists and therapists and all of that, maybe you were in the city and sought out therapy or counseling services. And please share if you have answers to those questions that you'd like to share. So let me go ahead and Dr. Stevens, would you like to introduce the rest of our panel, or should I?
Yes. That takes us to our next slide, which is our neighborhood. We have our core partners, the community partner neighborhoods that I've already mentioned. And some of the community partners include the Bayview Senior Services, the YMCA in the Western Addition Fillmore area, the West Side Community Services. We also have 3rd Street, Rafiki, Curry Senior Center. So a number of, I won't go through all of them, but even so, Community Village is a part of our network of neighborhood and community partners. So we're delighted today to have the panelists in attendance, and including, I'd like to introduce Dr. Dolores Hadia Williams, who is a clinical director of Bay Area Community Resources and a clinical therapist at Soul Counseling Community. She's also a San Francisco native. Dr. Yvonne Cobbs, who is a registered nurse practitioner, a clinical nursing instructor and owner of a Healthy Living Clinic. Dr. Odell Johnson, a psychologist, educator, and social criminal justice reform advocate, research fellow, and founder of the Research Institute for Social Equity. We're also pleased that I don't know if Dr. Odell Johnson has arrived, but if he's not here, he's with us in his heart. Dr. Jason Outlaw is the clinical director at Journey of Life Psychological Services, serving Black individuals and families. And then we have an author, Dante King of the 400-Year Holocaust, who's also a San Franciscan educator and historian. So, and Dr. Brenda Wade, who has also joined our panel. So we're so delighted to have each one of you here with us, and we are looking forward to a very informed and enriching discussion. If we have members of the audience from the Bayview Hunters Point, please let us know, because we would like you also to join our panel. And since this is virtual, you can be where you are, and we will welcome you. So now we'll turn it over to our Vice President, Jackson Lane, who will facilitate the discussion with the panel.
So
and we'll focus on these topics, Doctor.
So thank you so much for this opportunity. And I wanted to say that we have such a powerful panel. And so I think that what we could start with is, what is mental health? And what is the state of mental health services in the city and county of San Francisco? So at this time, we would like to ask Dr. Brenda Wade, maybe you could start us off.
My esteemed colleagues, and also with our community. I'm also a native San Franciscan, was born and raised in San Francisco in what was considered at that time the Black community. Now it's become very she-she. It's called Coal Valley. But growing up there, one of the things I know from my own experience is our parents are from Louisiana. My father's from an area known as St. Joseph, Louisiana. We used to say it's so far back up in the woods, you take a lunch to the mailbox. And what we know is, and my mom was from New Orleans, that there was a big rift. Those of us who came out west or went up north were looking for opportunities, looking for jobs, looking for a way to support ourselves and our families. So we have a history already here in San Francisco of families being separated. Now that's on top of enslavement, which is another big piece of our history, 400 years. And our young friend here wrote a book, The 400 Years. I'm so proud of him, and I can't wait to read it. And then beneath that, we have what happened. Now, most of you know, wrote a column for years for Essence magazine. I went back to Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire on this mission for Essence to find out what mental health meant for our African ancestors. And I'm going to keep this very short. It was a shock to me because I have worked in mental health for years in hospitals, clinics, private practice, run services of every kind. I had never been any place where people didn't recidivate, where it was a revolving door. You'd come out of a depression, come out of anxiety, come out of some kind of trauma, and go back in again and again and again. I know my colleagues know what I'm talking about. Well, guess what? When I went to Senegal, they did not put people away in hospitals. People did not recidivate. They sat together as a family with the practitioner, and they worked it out together. And then the big medicine came in the form of the person who was the indigenous healer. So I think there's a place for us to look at our history. And yes, we see the trauma, we see the pain, we see what we've been through, but we also can see in that history some things we can bring forward to nurture ourselves, strengthen our families, strengthen our relationships, and also be there for one another as the medicine bringers. So I'd like to open with that as something that's on my mind and on my heart.
Yes, that I am trying to be that medicine bringer, right? With my own medicine that I feel like I was um, blessed with some healing properties, you
Mm,
know, that came from my great grandmother and my grandmother. And so I found it in the words that I speak. I found it in the deeds and um, just in my presence. Um, and it's not always healing, but it is oftentimes about truth and facing the truth, because I feel like um, we can get through the trauma and the terrible times a lot faster to get to the good times and the joyous times by just dealing with the truth right away and moving through that to get to the brighter and the better or the easier, the more enjoyable times together. And so that is my part, or the part that I like to play, is just to be the one to bring everyone together and to build the bridges so that we can share village to village, city to city, house to house, heart to heart, eye to eye.
mhm.
And that's just the way I feel about it. I'll stop here. Let someone else
I
go.
Beautiful.
just,
Hi, Alicia.
I just wanted
Can
to
I?
say
Oh,
that, 1 second. I just wanted to say that that's a very, very powerful statement, Dr. Wade. And the reality is that that is one of the main things that we're trying to do now is do a holistic approach to what we face as Black people and African Americans in the United States. And that level requires our cultural connection, both spiritually, mentally, and physically. And so, with that, I'd like to ask Dante King. We're all so interested in the 400-year Holocaust, and please give us some treasures that we can enday.
thank you so much. And I didn't mean to just jump in, but I wanted to just contribute a brief answer to this question that you centered. And to me, being or having a balanced mental health means that people feel as though they belong in a situation, that they belong in the environment, in the community that they not only are from in terms of racially or ethnically, but entirely. Um, and some of the things that I say in my book, I think that in this culture, in American culture, which is very hierarchical and based on status and being able to conform and assimilate to the experimental ideas of, how one should show up, how one should think, how one should behave, which are all contrived and derived from white normative standards of acceptability, respectability, and civility, even in terms of how we look at intellect, how we regard someone being well behaved and or well presented. Um, if people don't fit into that, it causes a disruption to our nervous system. It causes a disruption to our mental system. And so we all know, if we look at history, which is what I bring forth in my work, and I study this very closely in my book, that Black people have never belonged in American culture, and particularly through both the pre and post colonial period into the formation of the United States. Laws that have continuously targeted us at the state level, at the federal level, where we're not just only excluded from opportunity, but there are legislative and judicial actions taken to dehumanize us,
Mm.
and to ensure that we never have the full capacity to function to reach our fullest potential. And so I say very candidly in my book that we don't know ourselves outside of being oppressed as African Americans. And white people, Asian people, Hispanic people have never been in touch with Black people outside of an oppressive orientation. And so
Mm.
we're expected to play ourselves small, we're expected to be invisible,
Mm.
and our needs have never been met. And even through amassing stable living conditions, which is what Dr. Brenda Wade spoke to in terms of many of our ancestors flocking to California or places like New York or Chicago to look for opportunity. You have, through legislative action again, through the Fair Deal of 1949, the government coming in under eminent domain and obliterating all of the housing, home ownership that Black people had amassed, and facilitated Black families out of major metropolitan areas where they had settled. And so when we talk about what is mental health, what standard, who is the authority on it? Because we have sociopaths and psychopaths who have arranged and designed the standards for how we even view mental health. And I appreciate Dr. John Henry Clark and Alfred Clegg in a discussion that they had in 1971, because it really helped to open my eyes. And Dr. Alvin Poussin, he says, I think we need to consider white racism a mental illness. And Dr. Bobby Wright, in his work around the psychopathic racial personality, he says, in their relationship with Blacks, whites are psychopaths, and their behavior underlies a deep proclivity rooted deep in their evolutionary history. And so we have to begin to build different mental models and different frameworks of understanding in terms of how we come to understanding the state of Black mental functionality, and not pathologize Black people in terms of being plagued by challenges of mental health, but understand that these are normative reactions, that these are people are just responding to conditions of oppression. And the spectrum of that oppression is vast. If you're talking to someone who is Black middle class, someone who has gone through these academic institutions and amassed some sort of success by white normative standards, the ways in which we experience anti-Blackness are vastly different than that of my uncle, my father, and so on and so forth. So this is a very layered discussion and conversation, but we have to approach this from a standpoint of liberation outside of white normative thought patterns. So thank you.
And you know how Kittle kills him. So, but that crosses over is that book called Modern Day Slavery, right? Yes. So with that, I would really like to find out, Jason Outlaw. So where are you in this focus of this discussion?
Yeah, and I appreciate my colleagues who have spoken before and given a couple different responses to that question. And there's lots of different ways in which you can address the question. I'm going to take a different standpoint on this one, and I'm going to define what I feel mental health is, but I'm also want to talk about kind of where we are right now for people who are seeking services and so forth. So in my opinion, mental health is just your ability to have a healthy internal spirit, right? And that's just kind of a broad way of looking at it. Of course, we can look at one's emotional capacity. We can look at behaviors. We can look at whether one is connected to their family and people who are important to them. But in general, do you have a healthy spirit, a healthy mental spirit? And in this day and age, we do tackle services a lot different than we would have in the past. I mean, 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, we were, you would show up at someone's office and you would sit down on the couch and there would be services provided to you for X amount of time. In this day and age, telehealth is taken over. Of course, whether we're talking about this format or we're talking about a Zoom or a Doxy or whatever format that might be there, we do have, in my opinion, we have better access to be able to provide a form in which people can actually receive mental health services. I remember, pre-pandemic, my clients would be, sometimes they would call and say, hey, I'm late. I may not make it today. There's a traffic jam. There's an accident. In this day and age, you log on to your phone and you're there. And so I feel like it's reduced the no-show rate. And of course, has provided, once again, access to care. I would also like to just kind of mention that we have made strides in terms of being able to receive services through different insurances and different acts and different pieces of legislature that have allowed more people to receive services. So I want to acknowledge that. But we do have a lot of room to go, right? It certainly isn't perfect. But I will say this, not many times do I hear these days that I don't have any insurance at all, and I'm going to be looking at a private pay or a sliding scale. Not that that doesn't happen, but it certainly feels like when I first started my private practice in 2012, there were more people coming along those lines. And so I'm really happy to be able to provide services to people who look like us, and with access to care, we are allowed to be able to do that. I want to just say one more thing before I turn it over. This is not just in the Black community. There is a lot to be learned about how health insurance works. I get many clients who, especially in the beginning of the year, they have no idea that they even have a deductible. And they're a little confused. They're like, hey, I've been paying my premium every month. That's hard to pay. This isn't like I got a bunch of extra money. And now what you're saying is that I have to pay into this deductible before I even am able to get services. So I'm just really hoping that through forums like this, that we're able to provide more information to the public, to the community, so that they are well informed about the balance of the deductible and the premium. So I want to stop here because I can talk all day, but I'm happy to be a part of this panel, and I'm certainly hoping that the people who are receiving the messages, that they are getting some information that's useful.
Great, Dr. Outlaw. You know, that perspective is one that, you know, we don't think about. It's after the fact. And we wait so long. We let stuff build up for so long before we make it out to the doctor. And by the time we get there, we might not be able to even answer the question about insurance or deductibles or whatever. I just need some help. We're in the emergency room trying to get triage care. Like, hurry up and fix this.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. Dr. Yvonne Cobbs, would you like to, bring your viewpoint?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invite to be on the panel. For me, what is mental health? Mental health is emotional well-being, social well-being, feeling that you have someone there to speak to, someone there to actually take care of your needs. Mm-hmm. So when I was introduced, I am Dr. Yvonne Cobbs. I have a doctorate degree in nursing practice. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I've been a nurse practitioner for a long time, for over 20 something years, and an RN for over 20 something years. And I have two things. I have a clinic that I have, a private practice, and it'll be 10 years in January. I also have a foundation. It's called the Healthy Living Foundation. And in the Healthy Living Foundation, I provide services to the community, education, and trying to empower individuals to live healthy lives. I do integrated care. Actually, I don't know. I'm going to say triple integrated care. So the integrated care, I do internal medicine as well as behavioral health. And I combine all of that with the arts. That's in my foundation. And with in my clinic, it's an integrated service. And when I say integrated, it's internal medicine and behavioral health. Many people come to the doctor's office with mental health issues.
Yes.
Because they cannot get into to see a psychiatrist. They can't get into mental health because the slots are too few. And that's one of the problems that we are having. And that's being a provider. And on the other side, well, actually, I'm on both sides because I also work in San Francisco citywide. You all, those who are on the panel probably know what citywide is. And so I'm citywide case management program. When I first got there, I was hired to try to determine if something was psychiatric or if something was medical. So I've been there for over 22, the city and county of San Francisco for 37.
Wow.
Did I cut off? Because it looks like I have a bad connection on my side.
Oh, we heard you, Dr. Cobbs, with that 37
Okay.
years of experience. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, in
Yeah.
all
So,
of the areas. Yes.
yes. So pretty much for me, integrated care is what I do. I take care of both your emotional needs as well as your health needs. So that's me.
Let me just add that when I reached out to Dr. Cobbs, she was in the Tenderloin doing work with an emergency situation. And she had me on one ear and was handling the situation as, just briefly, she had me on there, but I just couldn't believe she was able to even take those few moments with me enough to do that work like that. I could hear it in the background and I thought, I gotta let her go, but I hope that she can join us on this day. So thank you again for taking this time out of all of the work that you've been doing, particularly in a place like the Tenderloin, where it is the state of mental health, generally speaking, is at its yeah
At its height,
yeah.
Yes.
peak. Yes.
Yes.
Can you talk about some of the things that you're seeing with Black folks in the Tenderloin? Just give
So
us a little snapshot.
Okay, so I'm on a team. It's called Kujichagulia, Self-Determination in Swahili. And
Yes.
on that team, we have all African American. Well, the majority of our clinicians are African American, and we go out and we do everything. We our job is to make sure that if we can, that they don't end up into the hospital and they can live with their families and live in the community. And if they want to live with them by themselves but we give them the resources so they can do that. It's tough in the Tenderloin. I think when Elisa called me, it was someone's leg hanging off or something. It was horrible, but and it's like I deal with that all the time. And I was talking to her about vicarious trauma, not only with our clients, but with us. Things that I see, I have to go into the hotels and it may be a dead body there, and I have to comfort whoever's there or try to get them out the room while calling 911. Seeing people stabbed, taking care of that. Clients gouging out their eyeballs, and just I take, it's a lot that caregivers and healthcare workers see, and psychiatrists and psychologists, what you hear and what you absorb in your bodies. And we don't think about that, but we got to take care of ourselves too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's,
I
I answered the question.
I just wanted to tell you that we are so grateful that you do the work that you do, and this opportunity for you to stress the importance of integrated care. And in terms of the San Francisco Mental Health Board, Smart Education Board, I've always partnered with the San Francisco Behavioral Health Commission, which used to be the Mental Health Board. And the reason why it became the Behavioral Health Commission is because, as you say, you see clients and they come in presenting a mental health issue that they cannot get dollars to be serviced with. And so we'd like to give you a personal invitation to come before the San Francisco Behavioral Health Commission and give us your details on exactly the services you provide, as well as the gaps in services and what you need to get the job done.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so now we go to Dolores.
Well, and before, just to reiterate what our vice president is saying, the SMRF is, what we want to do is be able to support and understand what those issues are, because we feel that it's so important that the Department of Public Health and the Behavioral Health Services Department understands what it's taking to have services delivered, who's delivering those services, and what are those gaps that need to be addressed. So we really appreciate what you're offering. We
And
are
so
going to take that word back too.
that's for sure. So Dolores Williams, please enjoy. You're on mute.
Okay. There
I'm
you go.
sorry. Yes, I go by Hadia today. And I just want to, around mental health, I always talk to clients. And I think growing up, I grew up in the city. I grew up in, you had all these different zip codes. And I was like, ooh, I've probably been to most of them, except for maybe the better parts of the avenues. But when I talk to clients, I always say we all, I think back in the day, people's like, I don't have mental health issues. Nothing wrong with me. And I'm like, we're all on that spectrum, right? Mental health to me just means that we all have had some anxious feeling or some depressed or sad mood, right? We're just on a spectrum, and it normalizes it for people, first of all, right? And so mental health, I'm glad we're moving to this wellness thing too, because it takes the stigma out of gaining services and just looks at just improving your life, right? I have been a clinician for over about 27 years, 28 years, worked in the Tenderloin. So, Dr. Yvonne, I definitely resonate with that work, my first part of my career there. And I started a private practice in 2017. And, we always talk about meeting clients where they're at. Well, we say that, but I don't know if we always do. We say we're meeting them where they're at and then come to our office and sit in our office and have it at a time when I say it, and it has to be between 9 to 5, right? But I work in crisis for such a long time, working in vulnerable communities, mainly Black and Brown communities. Things happen at different times. So when we say we meet people where we're at, when I started my private practice, I really meant that. Coming to the curb, meeting you at the shelter, meeting you outside the shelter, meeting where we're in your home, and trying to find a place where we could quietly talk about and have um, some confidentiality. I think brother, and I can't see your name right now, and I'm sorry. The brother that wrote the book and talked about like how we are always coming up to all of these things that happen. That we just have complex trauma, and it's not. It's because of things, just daily things, work, being treated a certain kind of way, losing a job, losing housing, gentrification, all these kind of things, and we are expected to be okay with it. Right, we're expected to be okay. 2019, I am a therapist, have skills, all the things, but 2019 I came down with breast cancer, stage 3 on 4. And at that time, I needed services. I could not, all the skills, all the coping skills I had were not doing anything. And then I looked for services that could be met for me. And I couldn't find a therapist. One, it took me forever. And I had to go sit in a place and say, look, I'm not gonna kill myself or anybody else, but I can't leave here without somebody seeing me. And there was a Black therapist supervisor, who came out and said, I can't see you today, but I'm here for you. And that helped me just for that moment. And 3 weeks later, 3 weeks later, even though I had to deal with it for 3 weeks, 3 weeks later, I was given a clinician who still didn't understand my journey. And I think when we talk about, and Dr. Yvonne talked about like integrative service, many people have to go to their primary doctor to get medication because they can't, medication just to hold them because they don't have a clinician to be able to do that talk therapy or art therapy or any of those other disciplines that may help services. And in 2019 is also when I started a nonprofit, provide families who were impacted with cancer to get therapy and advocacy and environmental justice resource services, because I seen the gap. That was a big gap. And having that and having the skills to be able to navigate still didn't give me what I needed. And so it still tells us today we have these big gaps. And even how we talked about, you know, um, um, Dr. Jason talked, Dr. Allah talked about, like, we have virtual, but many of the people that I serve don't have a phone, don't have a computer, and they're out there and they need the most services, and they don't, a few things they don't trust, they don't want to go to office, and they need somebody to see them there. And I think we need to fill that gap there. And we need to speak the language, because we can't be here. I worked in a prison for 13 years. I learned to speak their language.
Mhm.
Some of it I already knew, right? Um, but that's where this is where we're changing. And I think this year, I really said, since COVID, we have put a little bit more effort into, or not us, but the institutions have put a little bit more effort into seeing the importance of peer specialists, seeing the importance of meeting people really on the street, and in our discipline, it trying to manage that, having more holistic kinds of treatment than before. We used to say it, but we didn't really do it. So yeah, so I think mental health to me means that we are helping people to identify where they're at in the mental health spectrum, and then getting them to where they see as wellness for them.
I like that you mentioned the peer support portion of it all, because that's what the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds is really trying to do. And that is part of my responsibility, is to make sure that I'm recruiting community wellness ambassadors and volunteers, who look like me and who are on the level. I don't have the education that all of you went out to get, but I care enough, and I've paid attention enough, and I'm learning enough that I feel confident as an ambassador reaching out. And I want to empower some of my friends and other community members as ambassadors and volunteers. So I will include all the information in the ticker on how to reach me about becoming an ambassador or a volunteer, and the training that will be involved. And that will include Dr. Jason Outlaw, along with any others of you who are willing to do that, because we can build up our army, our own specific army of ambassadors and volunteers who speak the language of our people, and who recognize what our needs are immediately. As soon as we see them, we know how we interact with each other, and we know what we need when we need it. So yeah, so look for that. I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Well, thank
Dr.
you.
Stevens. I see you.
No, thank you. Ms. Mayo, I see you're very enthusiastic, and we're very happy about that. I want to take a time to introduce Dr. Odell Johnson. I see that he's joined us.
Yes.
And we welcome you to our conversation and panel, Dr. Johnson. And
yes, good evening, everyone. I really want to apologize. Am I still on mute?
No,
we can hear you.
I really want to apologize for being late. I'm in Arkansas, so we're on a two-hour time difference, and I kind of was thinking that it was going to be at 8 o'clock, and it happens to be at 7 o'clock. So I really apologize for my lateness, and I just kind of really want to listen right now, because I spoke with Alicia about coming in, catching some souls. If somebody would happen to need some support in regards to mental health. I didn't know really what the platform consisted of, but I see we have a lot of professional people here that are out in the field doing the work, and that's really great. But I just kind of want to listen now, and just then maybe the next time you all meet, then I can come in and kind of give my spiel about the work that I'm doing and the work I did in San Francisco before coming to Arkansas. And just kind of briefly, so I came down to Arkansas because a tragedy, for one, happened to my son. It was a great injustice. And I'm from Arkansas. And so kind of coming back home to do some work to really Arkansas, California, they're doing some great things. The governor's making some good strides and changing some policies. But Arkansas has none of that. This is really Jim Crow, antebellum, South still today. And so I'm down here trying to be the change I want to see in that regards around mental health, and also disparities with Black men, particularly the ones that are just as impacted in prisons and jails, and so also gun violence. So I'm with the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences right now in the public health department, conducting research in prisons, trying to change policy and push policy. But it's a really, really hard uplift to get these folks down here to now. Sarah Huckabee is about to become the next governor in the next 7 days. So you know what we're dealing with. And so this is really a hard push and a hard lift, but I guess being on the groups like this and listening to the work that you all are doing, how wonderful, and getting support from myself and also supporting the work that you all are doing in California, which I'm passionate about that particular state as well. I would like to join you all at the next meeting if possible.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson, we really are happy you're here because now you're working, I guess we could say bi-coastal, but the issues are still the same, maybe not at the same time. In my mind, the issues would still be the same to a degree. Unfortunately, we came from the South to the city, but nothing really changed, did it? Did it
No, it didn't
change?
change. The only thing that changed is the zip code. So Hunters Point, Bayview, I worked really, really intensive in that area, and then moving people out of their homes, getting them to housing sustainability, then moving them back into their homes. And what we uncovered was so much mental health, in those particular kind of communities. And you're talking about, deep trauma, deep mental health. And there was no services in the Bayview, and there's still not any services in that area that can support that type of long-term disorder. And so we move people back in nicer places in the Bayview, but they still are hoarding. They still are using those substances. They still are dysfunctional in a lot of other ways and carry comorbid, reoccurring mental health disorders. So what did we solve, or what did the mayor's initiative solve in regards to housing people in a more safe environment? It's supposed to be safe and sustainable housing, but it's not that at all. So we're going to have another backlash, and that's going to be probably existing about another 10 years. And then it's going to be a thing where it's, hey, this is not working. We'll just knock it all down and let's come in and put some condos up. And then people will be displaced even further in those communities. That's going to continue to promote crime and gun violence. Because what we're seeing in the Bayview is that people are now being gentrified to live right across the street from each other that are gang-related people. And so when you walk out the house, you might see a shootout outside your door, because they still carry that same type of mentality, but they're kind of forced to live in those kind of environments. So there's so much stuff that's undercover. It's really underlying that needs to be addressed first before we even start talking about these types of initiatives that they started doing in regards to housing replacement.
And you've been doing this work now. Give me just your number of years that you worked in San Francisco in particular, because I have a feeling, some folks from the Department of Public Health will be watching and hearing all this. So for each of you who have worked in San Francisco over the years, give us a total number of years of your individual work, and then we're going to add all those years up together. And I'm going to create a whole graphic around the total number of years in San Francisco.
Well, when you say San Francisco, are you talking about the whole Bay Area? Because my work wasn't limited to San Francisco. It went to San Jose, it went to Santa Cruz, it went to Oakland, and also of the Silicon Valley, in East Palo Alto, down to San Francisco. So I was in all those places, working in the area of homelessness, trying to get people housed. And so, from a mental health approach, trying to get minds to change and transform to the point to where they can sustain themselves. As far as going down in the ditches, finding people that have been selected to receive housing and getting them out the ditch and putting them in my car and taking them to the DMV to get a driver's license so they can qualify to live in the house. So so I've been on both spectrums in service, practice, and also in research. So now I'm going to research, are they going to stay in this house? So based on the things that we are wrapping around them, how do we get them to sustain themselves? So we found a whole lot of gaps in that. Because most of the people didn't want to be housed, because they would say, like, I really love living like this. This is how my friends and my family are, right in this ditch, right? How do we break that? You know what I mean? So we were looking at ways to come in with an innovative, culture responsive, trauma-informed care approach to deal with that kind of mindset. And so, that's kind of like the approach that I came with. But of course, the counties decided to just patch it with Band-Aids and just let it be. And so
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Johnson, Odell Johnson. We really want to get into that research that you're doing too, because that's really super important in terms of where we're going and how we'll be able to prove the case for what we need in terms of services. Across the Bay Area. Dr. Brenda Wade, how many years did you work in San Francisco that you feel can be a part of the case? If we were all to go into court today and say to the Department of Public Health, we need a certain amount of dollars for services immediately, what could you bring, like give us some bullet points?
I think the most important thing is that we need coalitions that work together. We have the Rafiki Coalition, Bayview Hunters Point. We've got services across the city, whether it's San Francisco, Oakland, wherever it is. And the workers who work in those services also carry this intergenerational trauma that I've talked about and written about. When I wrote What Mama Couldn't Tell Us About Love, Power Choices, the 4 books I focus strongly on, if we understand our history, number one, we understand that the history is a history of trauma, number two, and if we address the trauma, not just as an individual, but as a family and as a community, then together we can begin to heal. But if we begin to say, oh, it's just me, me, mine, my trauma, maybe it's just my immediate family, we've missed the boat, because the boat brought all of us here. So that's the underlying piece. Now, on top of that, I have worked running groups for mothers who lost their children to gun violence, for the children who've lost their parents, for people whose family members are imprisoned, and also, a select private practice. But I'm going to put this out very quickly. I have a gift for anybody who's interested. Every second Thursday of every month, I do a live free training. And the training is on self-care, body, emotions, mind, and spirit. We have to fit all 4 quadrants. Hit me back at love@docwade.com. You'll get a free link to join that training. This is my service, my give back every single month to do that. And if people need more, I have trained people to do what I do, which is a science, psychology, spiritual, integrated approach to care. And those people are coaches I've trained to do what I do. So we've got lots of breadth and depth, and I want to offer that. Now, the last thing is, yes, I have worked 35 years in San Francisco, everything from chairing the Human Rights Commission to being on the street, taking care of people who are unhoused. So we have seen it all, we know it all, but the most important thing, I'm going to give 1 minute. If you remember this one thing, if you tap here on your sternum, and I'd like all my colleagues to pass this on to everyone that we meet and work with, in 1 minute and 60 seconds, we bring the heart into what we call coherence, and it begins immediately to lower the level of stress and anxiety. And most of the people we are working with, we're seeing, including ourselves, are dealing with stress and anxiety. So I want to offer that. And as you're tapping, you're going to think to yourself, I am 100% lovable, worthy, and free. Because when we train the brain, we train the heart brain, we get that coherence. Thank you.
That's
Thank
fabulous.
you, Dr. Wade.
Thank
you.
Before we go on, I do know that we have some other participants, and I've been checking the chat. If you want to speak, please feel free to speak. We're here as a panel, and I appreciate Dr. Johnson. We're listening to you too, and I think a lot of what you talked about was the culturally competent care that we need. So you're welcome. And thank you so much, Dr. Wade, because we all should take a moment, I think, to also take care of ourselves. Self-care is so important, especially in the kind of work that we're doing. But I think Mr. Greer wanted to know if he could speak. Please go.
Okay. Jeffrey Greer, let's see. There you go. Okay. Get your mic together. While you do that, I want to welcome Mr. Troy Regan, the one and only community member.
I'm gonna get my comment in before I have to check out.
Okay. Welcome, Troy Regan.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. We'll come back to you, Mr. Troy Regan. Go ahead, Mr. Greer.
Oh, did we lose you? There you go.
I didn't mean. Can you?
Yes. Well, it's cutting off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I just didn't want to interrupt, but wanted to get my little bit in before I have to check out. First of all, I want to thank everybody, and it's an honor to be here with an esteemed collection of minds. And this is something that should happen regularly and often, whether we have a specific topic or not. I just wanted to reiterate, as you can see, with San Francisco Recovery Theater. I've got several hats that I wear today. I'm on San Francisco Recovery Theater because the many layers that have been discussed is the plight and the circumstance that we find ourselves in as Black San Francisco, or Black people in the United States. We just happen to be in San Francisco at this time. And that it seems to me
Oh, okay. We're losing your audio.
It is so
okay.
There's a weak connection.
Yeah. Jeffrey Greer, I'm so sorry. The audio is bad. But I think it's really important for me to bring in Troy Regan. Troy and I grew up in Fillmore. He is the community member here tonight who promised he would be here. And thank you so much, Troy, for being here. Troy, can you just take a bow? First of all, take a bow. Take a bow, because you started out dancing in the community, and just entertaining and trying to lift spirits through your dance. And as you and I both have aged, and we have gone on with our careers and everything like that, we're as residents just trying to lift our communities, right? We're trying to support the little brothers and sisters. We're trying to support our grandparents, our aunts and uncles, our neighbors, as average folks, right? And so look at what we've done tonight. You've been my one support in the community.
Awesome.
So thank you so much. Now, I remember in the last town hall meeting, you said, "Where is everyone? Where is everyone?" And that is a great question. And we're still asking, where is everyone? I guess we, like Dr. Hadia Williams said, we have to go to them, right? We have to meet folks where they are. So, maybe that's one of the gaps. But what would you like to ask the panel? We're not only, they're experts, but they are also San Francisco residents and people who care just like us. We can have this conversation with them about what our concerns are. You and I, we have our concerns. So shoot, go ahead.
Well, thank you for allowing me to be on this panel, Alicia. But I just wanted to chime in and see all the people working for a betterment of the Black community in San Francisco. So I'm a decline to do a lot of talking and just listen and learn everybody first before I start commenting.
That's fair, Troy. I understand, but we're here together. Dr. Stevens, open your mic. I see you moving your hand, but
right. I just want to let you know that there are people who are tuning in on YouTube.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Let me go to that while someone takes over here. Let's see.
Can I jump in just for a moment?
Yes.
Let me go to Dr. Jason Outlaw really quickly. It looks like you have something to say here, Dr. Outlaw. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the other gentleman who was had the audio, I think I captured a little bit of what he was trying to say, and I was going to go there as well. I just want to mention, and this is an unfortunate sort of reality, but we have lack of resources. We have a housing crisis. We have a voting assault on politics happening at the time. We have literal oppression that's taking place on a day-to-day basis. And I think we have to integrate that into the conversation and understand that there are people who are struggling, and we may even present resources and present information that might seem to be helpful for people who might want to get some treatment in terms of mental health. But I think the reality is we just have to understand it's really tough out there for people, right? And our people get the short end of the stick every time. And there are the powers that be in terms of institutional racism and systemic racism that wants to continue to see anyone other than white males persist in this country. And my point of mentioning this is, once again, to underscore what I believe the other brother was saying. But we have to make sure that we understand that. I mean, I work in a high functioning outpatient clinic where people tend to have insurance, people tend to have cell phones and computers and everything else. And there's a whole nother world out there. And I wanted to make that point and underscore the fact that it can be really tough out there. And I think it just makes sense that some of you who are doing the grassroots sort of work here, and I applaud you all for that. So I just wanted to underscore that.
Yeah, can I also jump in too?
Go ahead, Dante.
You know, I think, and I kind of opened with this, but I want to expand upon the ideas that I centered when I opened. I often think about in what context or what realm of mental health are we talking about or discussing? And I want to be brutally candid and honest about something that's very personal. You know, one of the things that drove me or compelled me to write and publish my book was that I was at the verge of committing suicide. And, you know, living as a Black male in this country and having to be exceptional and having to be great, but having to play myself small and being required to not be acknowledged or recognized for my worth and value, while the red carpet is being rolled off for mediocre and deficient white and non-Black people, and then being chastised, you know, or for being great. As the, you know, one of the criticisms I received was that I thought that I was I must be one of the uppity Black people. And so you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I was recently contracted to facilitate a leadership retreat with an academic institution where I actually serve as guest faculty. And there were 110 leaders in the room, a makeup of chancellors and vice chancellors. And out of that group, approximately 70 of them were white. And I asked them during the middle of the retreat how many of them had received jobs because they either knew someone or knew someone who knew someone. And all 70 of them stood up, right? I then asked them how many of them had received opportunities, job opportunities that they weren't qualified for, meaning they didn't possess the education, industry, positional experience. All 70 of them raised their hand. And so I shared with the collective group, you know, that white mediocrity and white deficiency goes uninterrogated. It goes unaddressed. And in this very racist country, you know, one can be incompetent, incapable, deficient, and an abundance of opportunities will still flow their way, right? So we know that, we all understand that. But the side of it too is then you have, for example, someone like Cheryl Lee Ralph, who is brilliant in her craft, right? She wins this award through a white institution, and all of a sudden, she releases, she begins to, her emotion, the intensity of her emotions in that moment was a result of her trauma, you know, of existing in a white misogynistic world where, you know, she's finally being recognized for her craft, when if she was in a world where Black women control the apparatus of all of these institutions, it would not have been such a deal. It just would have been one and the same, right? And yet we don't understand and or frame that as part of the trauma and the mental health and the duress and distress that we suffer and that we're under. And yet it is. And so this goes far beyond, there are some people who just have it hard or just are having it rough. We have formed a community out of trauma. And one of the things I was with a group this week, and I guided them to think about this. Even this whole myth or idea of progress that we accept as Black people is non-existent. It's not really a thing. And the only way that you come to an agreement with the myth of progress is that you have to accept oppression as a regularity. You have to accept oppression as a normality in order to accept incremental pieces of progress. But we do it because we come through an orientation of lack, an orientation of deprivation and oppression. And so we all as Black people, as a collective, not just the ones that we think we're providing services to, but the Black bourgeoisie, we see someone like Kanye West, right? And the comments that he made about Jewish people, let's be clear, they didn't just get on him because he was making comments that targeted Jewish people. He offended white Jewish people who have political and economic power, and they have now reminded this Black man that he is a still Black in a white supremacist, anti-Black environment and have cut off all of his avenues to make money and ruined his reputation. And so, all of what I am saying, and I'm sharing this with you all and everyone out here, I'm pouring my heart out because it is enough to drive people crazy. And even though we wear suits and we dress up and we, have acquired these tools to be able to articulate, our viewpoints on these realities, it's very heavy. And we have to really begin to take a step back and reevaluate how we could see others, because we are trained to bring out high standards. And I appreciate Dr. Karitha Mitchell for this, and I'll be quiet after this. She says we are trained to bring out high standards whenever the person is not a straight white man. And so we are holding Black people, particularly Black women and Black men, to standards that are just,
unrealistic, just not realistic.
And the pressure of it all, Alicia, is killing us. It's killing us.
Yeah. And so I'm bringing us closer, as close as I can possibly bring us together without offending each other, without stepping on each other's toes, so that we can agree to move together instead of apart, support each other along the way, because it has been heavy and I need some help with my load, right? I need a little bit of help. Let's switch off the load, or let's take turns, let's move together. However we have to do it, we have to do it together. And this is why I wanted to have this virtual town hall. When we meet in person, I hope that everyone can meet in person. I'm planning some dates for November and December in San Francisco. And hopefully we can get the folks who can siphon some of those billions of dollars from the Department of Public Health back into the communities that need it, or into our programs, those of us who are serving Black San Francisco. How many of you, by the way, are receiving any services or any funding or support from the Department of Public Health, by a show of hands, in any of your practices? None. Okay. All right.
I do have a question for our community guest, our community partner, Mr. Reagan. Would you let us know, what do you see as the needs you have in your community here in San Francisco?
So what we need in our community, I believe myself, from growing up in San Francisco, I've been there now 58 years, 57, I'll be 58 in January. And so what I myself would love to see is us working together as we are here on this panel, working for ourselves to help our people, It would be nice to get help and money from the Department of Public Health and from anyone else with money to help us. But I believe we can help us, or we can help ourselves, and I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to help ourselves and start somewhere, which is where we at now, because I haven't had no conversation like this my whole time in the community concerning mental health. I've worked in the community as a case manager with several nonprofit organizations, and one of them was a nonprofit from St. Louis, who San Francisco hired to come and help us. And that just shows that the city is not trying to help Black people with their mental problems or any other problem. So I just want to, that's what from my perspective. So I just want to be a part of something like this so we can come together, help ourselves, and then we can acquire money and funds from anybody who wants to help us. But we have to help ourselves first. And in doing so, it's going to be real hard because we have so many people working against us not to be together. So this is a good start. Like I said, I don't know many of you guys. I've never seen many of you guys in the community in San Francisco. So it'd be nice to know you guys and meet you guys and see what we can do together. Yeah.
What's your zip code?
94124. I'm in Bayview, Hunters Point.
Okay.
So as I said, I worked for a nonprofit over there. San Francisco went and hired this nonprofit from St. Louis family organization to help usher in the Hope SF project that they have for dismantling the 5 communities, low-end communities in San Francisco. I was the first case manager on that project, and mental health was really important, but we never really addressed that. They had, I believe, Dr. Nadine Burks working with us at that time, if any of you guys are familiar with her.
Yeah.
But we really never got off into helping each other with any mental health or any other things that can help us further our existence in San Francisco.
Great. So you are in one of our partner organizations, our partner communities, so you'll see us.
Awesome.
Can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, so it really hit me about when the brother was talking about suicide, because this week there's so many people that I've heard because of financial situations or other situations are talking about suicide. And in San Francisco, there is a hotline for you in San Francisco other than the suicide helpline. And it's called, it's 24/7. And you can also text it. And let me see, the phone number is 415-781-0500. Once again, 415-781-0500. And that's a 24-hour line. That's for San Francisco. Just in case someone is listening and feeling like they want to end it all.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Cobbs. I added, let me see. Let me add that again. You said 415
781 0500.
Right.
That's 24 hours, 7 days a week. It's a helpline specifically for San Francisco residents.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Suicide.
And
it's specifically for San Francisco residents, and it's a crisis line.
Wonderful.
Crisis line. Okay, got it.
That's other than Dr. Williams. Also, she wrote in the chat that we need to create a city collaboration, not area wide, because a lot of the clients, they are traveling all over the city and they need these mental health services. I think that's a very powerful statement because we are spread out all over San Francisco now.
Can I say something too? I want to talk, I think one of the things that what I would like to see, is we have talked about, and in many places in the city when I'm at conferences, we talk about we need to do better at working together. I mean, we have a limited amount of resources, right? And if we learn to work together, we can better serve the community. I think a few things from my history of working with funders is that we're all trying to get the crumbs, and we're fighting for the crumbs, and so we kind of stay to ourselves and do our programming, but that is not serving the community. That, if we talking about trying to help, and really, to be honest, is really another thing is a lot of service providers. When I was I think the last time when I worked in the city in a nonprofit, I was making I was on Section 8 and I made 46,000, I think, at the most. And I couldn't afford to live there after I was off of Section 8. So I had to move out of the city. That's the reason why I moved. And so a lot of service providers are barely making enough. They are having vicarious trauma by all of the things, being overworked, and we're asking them to show up every day, and they are not making a livable wage. And not to, if we got a lot of money in the city. I've seen this before when they closed up a lot of the mental institutions, and a lot of money came to the city at that time, and then it disappeared. And now we have a lot of money in the city, and it's going to be the same thing. And our people are going to back. It hasn't changed. It has progressed some, but it hasn't changed enough. And if we don't start utilizing our resources as much, and also making sure those who are working are also getting some abundance of support too, then it's going to trickle down to right back to where we started from.
Yeah. Taking care of the people who take care of the people, right? Sean Buford from the San Francisco Fire Department talked about that in my 7-part series on the Bay Area Mental Health Hour with first responders not having the care that they need. So who are we left with after that? I'm so concerned, and that's why I'm just trying. And we're all trying, but we need care also, right?
Yeah. So before we move on, I wanted to ask Vice President Jackson Lane, did you want to do any more with the panel discussion?
Yes, what I thought was that we would move forward so that we can talk about becoming ambassadors.
Yes.
The work that we do in the community, and to also, close out with the final questions, so that persons, they can, as Alicia said earlier, you can send your answers in.
Can I say something before you?
On YouTube, who also, we want everyone to get a full experience of today's, public health hearing. Yeah.
And those pre-survey questions are there. And we'll have post-survey questions that we'll include after the presentation here, so that those questions are specific to before the conversation, like what are your concerns, etc., and then what do you feel you've learned, etc., in the post questionnaire. Again, those both the pre and the post questionnaire or the surveys are in the comments chat on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Please fill out those surveys because the research is really important. It's important for us to know what the needs are.
And I thought I heard a voice. Did someone else?
That was actually me, and I think Alicia, just the key word was the research. And so so to answer your question, I didn't get a chance to answer. I worked in the Bayview around 18 years, and now I'm down in Arkansas only on 2-year on the 2-year kind of assignment with the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences. And the reason I'm here is because so many. Actually, I had an opportunity to. I got recruited by some recruiter to come and interview for San Francisco Department of Public Health to be the executive director of research, health disparities, and so I went through the whole process of down to the last 3. And that was the top 3, and they told me that hey, you don't have enough publications, you don't have enough stuff out there, all these barriers to. To Black people being able to lead and participate in their own health. And so I just said, okay, so publications, okay, so I have a few, but you don't have, some other things academically and scholarly. You know, what are your works? I mean, what kind of studies have you done? You got an NIH grant? Have you got a NIDA grant? You know, and all these kinds of things. So no, I haven't. That hasn't been my focus. But I am, you know, a doctor. I'm a psychologist. You know, and I've been out in the field. I've been on the ground. Why can't you let my lived experience be, you know, be the scientific model?
Yes.
You know, I think that's going to be much more effective, and it's going to be much more engaging with my community. You know, showing who I am and actually being able to engage to where I understand where you are because I live where you are and I know who you are. We know who I am. So just to kind of make a long story short, one of the things that I came down here for was to get that skill because so many researchers was coming into Baby Hunter's point. So many researchers coming in taking billion dollars worth of information out of our community, going out writing a study about what's going on with us, never reported back to the community to tell the community what the findings were and what can we do to fix it. And they left us hanging all the time. And we was willfully giving them this information and got nothing back. So I said, I want to be able to lead my own research in my own community. And so this is why I'm here, is to come and get those skills and develop those criteria to overcome those barriers to become published. So now I'm published a little bit more. And now I just got received a grant. The grant that I just received was any Black man it's really a universal based income grant that I actually adapted from Stockton's mayor's initiative where he was giving $500 a month to people that were low income. So I took that model and I said, okay, why don't we give $500 to Black men over 45 that have maybe a chronic health illness that are coming out of prison, jails, that don't know how to access services, mental health services mainly, and also health services, and see how they can help sustain them in the community. So we just received a grant. It's called a universe-based income, aging in the prison and the criminal justice system. You know, and so it's a real strong study. And so I'm also doing a study about with HBCUs with the mental health they're experiencing on Black campuses now ever since the pandemic and a little bit before, due to the pandemic and also the engagement with law enforcement the young people are experiencing. And also watching on TV, just seeing somebody that looked like them get shot down. They're checking out on HBCU campuses. Every HBCU enrollment except Howard is down ever since the pandemic.
Yes.
So we're looking at ways to sustain them and bring up their enrollment back to where it was. So research, I think, needs to be a part of this conversation, and we need to have this. You know, if we don't know what we are, you know, we see all the problems with. You know, we have a lot of practitioners going and say, okay, I see the problem. I'm going to open up a reentry center or a treatment center, and I'm just going to use the 12 steps program, and we're going to get this done. But we don't do the research to know even whatever program we are putting together, where are the gaps? What is the efficacy of it? What is wrong with it? And what's working and what's not working? And let's fix it and get modified to fit our cultural situation.
Correct.
So that's why I'm here. And I just wanted to say that and share that research must be a part of this conversation.
Let me just add, Dr. Johnson, and to everyone, I was watching a discussion with a group of scientists, neuroscientists, and there was one brother on the panel and neuroscience and scientists talking about the immune system and mental health and how the effects of the immune system really do affect our mental health and well-being, our behavioral, our responses to, you know, the neurons and how they're connecting or disconnecting or being, you know, disrupted by body and illness and all of that. And it all made sense until he started talking about the solutions to those findings. And they were talking about electric shock and things like that. And as far as I know, I'm not interested in electric shock, having some device inserted that can be controlled by shocking me. It's like you know, the heart defibrillator to defibrillate. And I mean, it may work, but that sounds a little extreme. It sounds like something like far beyond what I'm thinking in terms of like, you know, just getting through some depression, you know, a short period of depression or losing a loved one or something like that. But really, do I really need electric shock for that? You know, it just seems a little extreme. Dr. Wade.
giving solutions and practices. And one practice I want to encourage, I'm just so moved by what our brother just shared, is that we need wellness checks.
Mhm.
We need to call the people we care about. And I
Yes.
have a rolling day. Every day I'm checking on somebody. How are you doing? COVID's been hard on us, but life was already hard. You add COVID, you add isolation. That's a recipe for the immune system to break down. It's a recipe for neurological breakdown. It's a recipe for depression and anxiety. So if we can do this one simple thing, I offer the tapping process because that's very, very helpful to lower anxiety, but also just call and check. Call and check on your friends, your family members, your colleagues. We need support. We need to offer it and receive it.
Can I
Thank
jump in
you
real
all.
quick? Forward?
Yes, I think.
Just to piggyback on what Dr. Wade said, I've had this idea for quite some time that I haven't implemented. But if you think about it, the medical model shows that we are to get a physical once a year. We give our blood and we go to the doctor and they give us a clean bill of health or they make recommendations around it. My recommendation is that we do the same for mental health, right? And so if we are assessed, even the professionals, it can be a brief assessment, it could be some form of a check-in so that recommendations can be made from there. And of course, we're relying on everyone to determine for themselves if they're sick enough to see a professional. And we already know that there's stigma is bad enough in the Black community, period, around mental health. And so it doesn't make much sense at all that we would allow our people to rely on their personal indices to determine if they're sick enough. And that doesn't mean that they don't know, but the difference between someone who has met the diagnostic criteria for a mental health disorder and someone who's just going through a rough period, we need to be able to provide some form of a formal assessment. So I'm hoping that not necessarily me, but that we somehow integrate this into the mental health world. And it would be kind of cool to see people get recommendations that would prevent the development of that disorder from furthering itself.
Dr. Outlaw, I'm sorry. I want to ask you a question about that assessment. Is that an assessment that a peer wellness ambassador could conduct out in the community?
Certainly. I think whether we call it a peer ambassador or paraprofessional or what have you, we can train people to be able to conduct this assessment. And so, yes, I'm in complete agreement with you there.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Thank you, Dr. Stevens.
No, I was just going to speak to what you were talking about, Dr. Outlaw, in terms of removing the stigma. Because so often, if we can encourage people to see that I'm checking on you because I care about you and it's okay, that we move in that direction of trying to shame and trying to hide.
Sure. Anytime you're talking about mental health, you are helping with reducing the stigma. And so this forum, anytime people see folks who look like us and it doesn't look like a white male in a white lab jacket, we do our part to reduce the stigma. And there's lots of misconceptions, right? I mean, most of the clients who I work with, they came in thinking that I was just going to give them advice. And they think that therapy is about me telling them what to do. And so once again, we can provide lots of information in many different forms that will help with that stigma reduction.
Thank you so much. And I think what our vice president said, we should now kind of move into what we're thinking about in terms of our ambassadors. So I can share, or you can share, Ms. Mayo, and you can talk about that part of our program.
Please do, Dr. Stevens. I'm going to look into the comments and
No, I want you to go ahead and.
Okay.
I was just going to put this share screen up.
Oh, I see.
So
Let's see here. Okay. Are you thinking about the?
It's with the
slides.
No, it's with the slides with our ambassadors and volunteers.
Okay. Oh, you mean these neat little graphics like that?
Well, this is the first page, but then let's just go to the.
I don't. Are you talking about the slides? I'm sorry, I'm not sure about what what you're asking me to pull up.
Well, the slide on the volunteers and ambassadors.
Okay. Okay. So you have to share that with us again.
Can you
'Cause
see
it's
it?
no, it's not in the
No, I
in
was
our
trying to share this.
yeah, try to share it again. And while wait, let's see. Is this it? Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, various gaps and needs, cultural competency and quality programs and interventions.
So
Okay, how you can get involved. Here it is.
There we
All
are.
right. Okay. So I can read that. Of course, you can get involved by reaching out to SMERF. You can reach out to us here at the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds, and my email will be in the ticker. But you can also participate by getting involved in planning with what we're doing, these town hall events, going out into the community, reaching the folks by participating in the surveys and conducting research with us. That's one way you can serve as a mental health resource for those targeted communities, taking a list of those resources that are available to Black San Franciscans in our targeted communities, and providing those lists, copies of those lists. Of course, I can provide you with those copies. Getting involved with the San Francisco Mental Health Board as a board member. Also, you can increase in community's involvement by inviting your family and friends to take part in these different programs through SMERF, through the Department of Public Health and the Behavioral Health Services branches of service that we as SMERF have all the information about. So we are acting as a resource center or a resource hub where we can provide all of our ambassadors and our volunteers with the information, with the resource list and all of that, so that we can, spread out and get more done with all of us getting involved. Let me go to the next slide, see here if I'm missing anything. Community volunteers and ambassadors will act between individuals and healthcare service providers to lead and improve provider responses to the needs of the Black and African American community. So bridging the gap between the providers and the community is what we'll do as ambassadors and volunteers as well. And we'll be the voices for the people who cannot speak for themselves. And, I think not necessarily trying to speak for them, but if someone needs to have, if someone can't speak up for themselves and they need that support, and quite often we do get stuck in our depression and we can get stuck in our sadness and our loneliness or isolation. No matter how many, no matter how full my gas tank is, I may not get in the car and go to my mom because of something, right? That's keeping me from connecting. And so we want to make sure that we recognize when people are stuck like that and not necessarily trying to speak for them, but trying to hold their hand or trying to support and lift or carry or support, listen, however we can as volunteers and ambassadors. Let me move to the next slide here. Okay.
So this is what I believe. Well, one of the things we're doing with our ambassadors and volunteers, we're selecting 2 to 3 community residents who will work with their communities. So we feel that it's important that the community sees themselves as being a part of the solution, as Mr. Reagan had mentioned. That it's not that we're coming from the outside, we're going to fix it.
And with that, so the last slide has the 4 questions. You can fill this up. So how did we do today? We want to know, do you feel more informed about the mental health concerns or issues? And what we mean by that is, do you feel comfortable with speaking up and actually telling us what's missing and realizing that there is someone who cares, who is out here, who we want to embrace you? And the second question is, how could you best support your loved one who may be suffering from mental health problems? And that question is there is because, say, for example, I was certified to be a trainer for NAMI, which is the National Association Against Mental Illness. And I was actually a trainer for what they call family to family. Family to family is set up so that when family members have an expectation, they see something different with their loved one, but they don't understand what's going on. And the reality is they need to get the information to be able to begin to adjust and know when the depression is coming, to understand if they're moving into a more a state that could be, bipolar, or could be a situation where they may be actually afraid of the person that is in their home. We have seniors who have situations around senior abuse. So you see what I'm saying? We want to put our arms around that full cluster so that, and then COVID on top, we had that shelter in place. And so would put people in a position where, no one was watching. And so there was this other fear of even speaking now. So that's why SMERF is here. San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds is here to let our community know that, yes, we hear you. Yes, we know you're out there. And all you need to do is to communicate with us. Our third question is, do you feel better informed about mental health services available today? And I know this panel was fabulous. The information was incredible. I'm so grateful to be with all of you. And I know that as our with the administrator of the project, Alicia, moves forward in the community, and we are having an opportunity where you can tell people, go on YouTube, you can see it. We have a way of letting folks know. Look, play it over, listen to it, replay it, and get out there and tell somebody. And then our fourth question is, after the presentation, do you feel more comfortable about reaching out to others for help? So I got a little bit ahead of myself, but that is the most critical thing, is that we want to pass this on and wrap our arms around our community, because it takes an entire village to raise a child.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I just want to say, though, also that we are including those questions, the pre and the post questions, in the comments again and in the YouTube stream there for everyone, so that if you weren't able to get to answering it right away as you were listening to all of the great comments and speakers here and community, you can go back and fill that out, because the information is really important, like we said, and what you need. You need to tell us. You need to tell us so that we can pass this on and we can act on it. Anybody else want to add anything else here? I'm going to take down the questions.
Well, there was the other part was that we do, and Mr. Greer was here because he also has been working with the transition with the Behavioral Health Commission, that we're very interested in recruiting and letting people know that, especially for those of us who are living in San Francisco, that there are positions available on the Behavioral Health Commission. If you go with that commission, about half of our board is on the commission, and we're trying to welcome having more voices and more people from the community involved with the commission, because that's where the money is. The commission access and oversight for all the funds that come into the state funds coming to the Department of Public Health and Behavioral Health Services. And oftentimes the services that we need to be validated to say that these services were provided with this budget. And oftentimes we don't have enough of our voices there to say, we did not see those services. Where is the money? Where are the services that should have been happening? And we might not interrupt the fact that the funds will still be there, but the state wants to hear from the community. They have a hearing every year on their Mental Health Service Act funds. And our voices need to be heard to say that we did not see where those funds were being spent. We want more accountability. So that
And that's in fact what you have seen, right, Dr. Stevens? I've only been with the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds now for a couple of months, but what I'm learning from you is that over your 8 years on the Behavioral Health Commission of California, you've seen funding come and go, but never reach the Black communities of San Francisco. Is that right?
I would say it doesn't have the impact that the claims are there to say it has. And I think that's some of the discussion that we've had tonight, that programs will come in and they will do the research, or they will say they did the services, but did those services actually impact the residents the way they were supposed to? And our voices need to be heard if we say we didn't see that happened. Yes, they might have come in, or the program was set up, or someone came in and said, I'm running this program this year, and then they leave, but then what happened? Did our community get the benefits of those funds the way we feel that our community should have benefited from those services? And if they didn't, we need to speak out.
And I also wanted to just add, first of all, I just want to say I am so grateful to have been part of this panel with such brilliant minds of, Black brilliant people in Black bodies. I'm grateful for each and every one of you and could not think of a better use of my time. But I also want to say that, one of the things that I see that needs to be addressed, and this has to do with more internal operations in the behavioral health services arm of the Department of Public Health in San Francisco, is that you have irresponsible leadership in some instances. And so I'm not sure how many of you heard recently, but there's a leader in that department who, is working for the city full-time, collecting a $450,000 salary, or approximately that much, but then also, working part-time for another nonprofit that also receives funding from the city and collecting another $128,000 from that entity as well. And at the same time, you have a Black man by the name of Alex Jackson, who was the deputy director of a particular entity within the behavioral health services arm for almost 4 years. He applied to become the director, and they hired a white woman who her experience did not compare at all. He was acting in the role as the director for the entity for 1 year, and they still passed him up, even though he had a stellar track record, stellar performance. He had even received a raise recently. And so you have people who, from a cultural concordant standpoint, could be making more responsible decisions because they have understanding about what the community needs. They have the experience to provide leadership in directing how resources can be applied to the community. And yet, the irresponsible leadership in the behavioral health services arm of the DPH does not support, advancing and or promoting the leadership that's needed in order to direct the funding and make sure that the community gets what it needs. So there are many different things that need to be addressed in this situation, because we have people in positions of authority who could care less whether Black people live or die. And that's just the reality of the situation.
Thank you for your candor.
Okay, therein lies a big part of the problem. 400 plus thousand per year, plus another 127,000 through what sounds like a conflict of interest. Clearly, like if I were to do that, like what would happen to me?
You'd be fired.
And I got two grown kids to feed. I mean, rightfully so. I need the funding, right? I need the money, right? But that's not the most important thing all the time, right? Serving the people. When you sign up for a job like that, you sign up to serve. and we're not being served. And so, what do we do now? Okay, it's policy and legislation. Sacramento's not too far. There's city council, their behavioral health commission. Oh, yes, as Dr. Stevens stated, there's the behavioral health commission. Imagine our faces there at least one meeting. We just show up at that one meeting. Then what? Then what? Imagine that. So when I send the email out for the invitation to attend the meeting, the one meeting that we decide to show up at, please, if you can,
Hey,
join
that's what we
us.
want.
Join us. Yes.
Dr.
So
Stevens
thank you.
both have been on the Behavioral Health Commission when it was the Mental Health Board before it became the Behavioral Health Commission. And the reality is that we have had to push forward around agendas that would be a positive effect for Black and African Americans in the city, county, San Francisco. And the one tide that we are faced with now is the population is shrinking. And as the population shrinks, they've decided, oh, we don't have to address you all because, you're less than 4% in the city. But guess what? When they do those numbers to get those big dollars, they're using, as one of the other commentators said on our panel today, they get all of our information, they write it up, and they get big money behind it, and there we are in the community and we still have nothing. And that is the truth. So thank you. And I know
So
you
with
guys.
that, I guess we'll close. I mean, unless someone else has some more to add, you want to talk about something specifically that we did not cover in this conversation. Dr. Wade is saying good night. Dr. Wade, your last words. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, it was
And
an
we want to
honor
hear-
and encouraging to hear everyone share. It's hard to articulate. My heart is just open, but it's also hurting. There's so much work for us to do, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. And I have these extraordinary colleagues to share with, and I'm here as a resource to anyone who needs help in anywhere I can support in any way. Please feel free. Love it, Doc Wade.
I feel, on the other hand, Dr. Wade, with all of you present with me as an administrator, I feel empowered. I feel inspired. I feel comforted by having all of you here joining me. Although my family members have suffered, I have new family with all of you. And so just take some comfort in knowing that you have all given me energy to keep going. And I feel empowered and inspired to keep on going with this work.
Bless you.
God bless everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Right.
Oh, thank you all.
Thank
Dr.
you all
Idea
so
Williams.
much.
Thank you, Dante
Thank
King.
you. Thank
Dr.
you.
Jason Outlaw, Dijon Alarms, Troy Regan, Dr. Odell Johnson, Dr. Harriet Stevens, Carletta Jackson Lane. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, folks out there in social media world, stay tuned. I have some very special content that was produced by some friends of mine, and I'm going to include that content now with all of you. It's something to just lift our spirits and to give us a little insight on how some of our Black families are doing here in the Bay Area in terms of coping and addressing mental and behavioral health with their families and loved ones. To all of you out there, take care. Stay tuned for just a little bit more. Relax. Enjoy your Friday evening here in the last few minutes on Clari-T Media. I appreciate you all for being here. Okay, so stand by here.
Time back in, game time. Welcome back, it's the head coach, and I came back here to talk to you guys about, if you checked in with me earlier, I was with my therapist, and he wanted to ask me a few questions because he thought something might be going on with me, and the questions revealed that I was suffering through some mild depression. And so it thought to me that I needed to come to the team and talk about some of these topics, the various new offenses and the intricacies of them as they apply on the field. So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you about the two main opponents that we'll be facing this season. One of them is called BH, and the other team is MH. They play each other a lot of times, but I'm sure they're in our conference. So now BH is behavioral health, and MH is none other than mental health. Now see, behavioral health is a blanketed term that encompasses mental health, but not the other way around. So first I want to talk to you about behavioral health. Now see, they run the WYD system. Their offense is WYD. It's what you do, you understand me? While on the other side of the ball, the mental health, they like to run that HYF alignment, and that's that how you feel defense and offense. So listen, over here on the other side of the ball with behavioral health, you find things like the substance abuse, you find gambling addiction, you find sex and things of that nature, and I can't forget about some type of eating disorders, you know. And over here, when you're coming over here on the mental health for the ball side of the ball, this is where you find new strategic game plans like anxiety, depression, and that complicated one, schizophrenia. And then you also find, as with the other side of the ball, you find addictive disorders and things of that nature. Any questions out there? All right. We'll get back to that later. But I wanted to tell you that we do have a game plan, and you can use this game plan. I want you to take a break for a minute, and we'll be back just to give you a little bit of what we do to combat these different teams and where we stay dominating the league. Time out.
If you'd like to be a guest or suggest show ideas, drop us an email or a direct message. We'd love to hear from you. Clari-T Media, human stories, grassroots solutions. Subscribe, like, follow, and share. The Bay Area Mental Health Hour, Clari-T Conversations, and We the People. Building trust for the first time. Out of chaos comes clarity. Clari-T Media.
Rock with a few, drip lit like a spotlight. Just winning, media life spinning, media life spinning.
Come in.
Hey, Doc.
Hi, Coach. How you doing?
Oh, man. Well, to be honest, not that great, you know. But I brought my doggy with me.
What's your dog's name?
Oh, his name's Kobe. Kobe. R.I.P. to the great Mamba. Well, anyway, lately I've been feeling a little down in the dumps. Been sleeping a little bit. I guess you could say my vibration has been low. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Do you mind if I run a few tests to you? Because I have an idea of what might be wrong with you.
Well, what kind of tests and what do you think might be wrong with me?
You might be mildly depressed.
Oh, yeah. I never thought of that. Sure, Doc. What kind of test is it?
I have to ask you some questions to get more knowledge. To see if you're mildly depressed or depressed.
All right. Is it cool if I check with someone?
Yeah.
What you think, Kobe? What you think? Kobe said it's all good. It's all good. So, shoot, Doc.
Oh, also, would you like candy?
You want one, Kobe? Maybe later.
Okay. Question number 1.
Go ahead.
Are your energy levels down? Or are you always tired?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Do you have trouble focusing?
You mean like on plays, on some of the things we do on scrimmage? Or are you talking about in general?
In general.
Yeah.
Are you having BUTs?
Trying to play with me, Doc? Of course I got a butt.
No, BUTs, bad unhealthy thoughts. Bad unhealthy thoughts that repeat.
Oh yeah. I can see myself kind of going over certain things over and over again. Yeah.
Do you feel like a failure or have low self-esteem?
Well, my team is 0-6, so you could say that. But in life, sometimes I feel that way too.
Are you overeating or have a poor appetite?
Haven't been eating that much. Been giving it all to old Kobe here.
Do you have trouble sleeping or sleep too much?
Sleeping too much.
Okay. Are you having trouble finding pleasure in ordinary things?
A little bit, Doc.
Do you feel hopeless or down?
Not since I got Kobe, but I could see where you're going with that.
Are you constipated?
Can I boo-boo?
Yeah.
None of your business, Doc.
It seems like you answered 4 to 6 of these questions. 4 to 6 of these questions. Well, it seems like you might be depressed.
Well, what if I would have answered 2 or 3 of them?
You'd have been mildly depressed.
But since I answered 4 to 6 of them, I'm
Depressed?
depressed?
Yeah, depressed.
Wow. Time out.
Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health. Today's live stream of the San Francisco Bayview Hunters Point Town Hall is being brought to you by the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds, working with others in a spirit of generosity and mutual respect. We want to help build a world where all people can lead free and dignified lives. The San Francisco Department of Public Health Behavioral Health Services and some of our community-based organizational partners join together to make a collective impact. And Clari-T Media, a Dreamkeeper Initiative cohort, delivering human stories and grassroots solutions.
Masks reduce the spread of COVID-19. COVID-19 spreads from person to person through respiratory droplets as we cough, sneeze, talk, or breathe. Wear a mask that covers your nose and mouth and fits snugly against the side of your face without gaps. Masks act as a barrier to help stop respiratory droplets from spreading to others. They also act as a barrier to help stop droplets in the air from spreading to you. If you are within 6 feet of a person with COVID-19, you could be exposed. Stay at least 6 feet from other people and wear a mask. If possible and safe, increase ventilation by opening windows, doors, and using fans. Wear a mask over your mouth and nose. Stay at least 6 feet away from others. Avoid crowds and poorly ventilated spaces. Wash your hands with soap and water for 20 seconds. Get a COVID-19 vaccine when it's available to you.
This public service announcement is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Out of chaos comes clarity.
Welcome back. It's the head coach. And as you can see, I brought my little squad with me. On the right over here, I got Wisdom. And right here, Winter. And right here, Big Sis Willow. So you guys, I wanted to talk to you about this one wellness tool that I saw that you guys were talking about
at school.
That you learned at school.
It's 5-finger breathing.
Okay, hold that thought, Wisdom. You're getting ahead of yourself here. So anyway, sometimes when you're feeling a little anxious, or you might be feeling a little down, mad or sad,
or uncomfortable,
or
that's your name.
Oh, I'm Big Wayne, or Coach Wayne. And sometimes when you're feeling a certain way, you need to breathe, and that breathing gives extra oxygen to your brain and kind of sets you on the right path. And you guys have learned the tool that you guys do at school, right?
Yeah.
And Wisdom just said it, and it's called the what?
5-finger breathing. And
Dad, you have to say your names, like when you point.
no, Dad.
My name is Wayne. Yeah, yes.
So what do you feel like mad is like a word that you gotta like stay in, but if you get very high, that means you're getting mad, or sad, that means you're going very down.
Very down. Okay, now let me ask you.
It's just a meter.
A meter.
Yeah.
Okay. And with that being said, Willow, can you describe how to do the 5-finger breathing exercise? Say it to the camera.
So what you do is just when you breathe in, you go up to the middle, and then when you breathe out, you go down. Then you just keep repeating it with each finger.
Come on, demonstrate it. Ooh, that felt good. Winter, when you do that, how does it make you feel?
I'm calm and unfrustrated.
And unfrustrated. I like that. What about you, Wisdom? How does it make you feel?
It makes me I'm comfortable and relaxed. So when it's time to go on my game, I don't be doing certain stuff that I'm supposed to not be doing.
And what about you, Willow?
It makes me feel focused when I'm in school, and it makes me feel really relaxed and calm.
Really relaxed and calm. Well, that's the goal. That was, yes.
I do something at school, she get a chime or something, and then she's ringing, and then we breathe in and then breathe out.
Well, okay. Well, that was the goal. That was the goal of this exercise, to bring a wellness tool to you, easy enough for a child to use, that can help with making us calm, making us less anxious and unfrustrated. Thank you. Goodbye.
See you later.
Clarity. Yeah.
Black woman owned. Clari-T Media.
Black people.
Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health. All right. Hi, everybody. Alicia Mayo back. I'm the founder of Clari-T Media and the executive producer of the Bay Area Mental Health Hour, along with my position as the project administrator for the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds. I'm bringing an integrated approach to mental and behavioral health wellness. Okay. I'm not a PhD. I didn't go to school for it, but I have my own layman's way of presenting information, sharing information, creating a holistic approach to life and dealing with our stuff, right? So I integrate the arts and my media work, delivering content in a way that is entertaining and it looks like entertainment in a way. And that's why I reached out to Coach Wayne Hayes, great brother, Bay Area, and lived in San Francisco, lives in the Bay Area, brother from the city, the Bay, right? And he has a real knowledge and understanding about how we live in the city. And he also knows, like I know, like many of us know, that in order to maintain ourselves here in the Bay, we have to make sure that we are well from the inside out, right? And we are laughing and we are eating and we are supplying support for and resources to our families. We are able to work and make money, pay our bills, afford housing, and all of that. And for some of us, we're more resilient than others. And we're going to hustle and do whatever we need to do to maintain that wellness and that and to keep ourselves sustained, right? And so you have to get creative. You have to be open minded. You have to be willing to just try some different things that are safe and okay, morally for you, in terms of just how much you're willing to do. And so the fact that Wayne Hayes has zero fear about talking about mental health with his family, with his children, teaching them, and then recording it and sharing it with all of us and our families and friends and all like that says so much. So, what I'm trying to say is if any of you out there want to support what he's doing and that content, like I'm supporting him, reach out to me. We're going to find a way to support that brother so that he can support his family. Because really, that's what this is all about tonight, right? We're about supporting each other through resources, services, programs, and information. But the fact that that brother Wayne Hayes said yes to my request to create content to share with all of you and your families means so much. It means so much. We're all doing what we can do to support our communities and to support each other. So reach out to me. All right. We're going to put something together in the terms of resources for Brother Wayne Hayes and his family. You saw that. And there's more to come. There's more to come. So stay tuned. But he put those pieces together to express the importance of daily rituals and daily health care, mental health care approaches that we can all institute on our own, and with our families. So thank you again to Wayne Hayes for doing that. I have something coming up also from another community-based partner of mine. His name is Love More. He put together a piece for us as well, and that's coming up. And then I'm going to wrap up the show because it's getting late. I have more information to share, but I don't want to wear out my welcome. But I am so happy that you decided to watch and tune in. And while you're tuning in and enjoying the content, make sure that you go into the comments stream either on YouTube or on Facebook, and tap on that survey link. Okay, there's a pre-survey link and a post-survey link. And the pre-survey is about what you want to share with us before the presentation of the town hall, and that's about just your past experience with mental health services in San Francisco, your zip code, and what mental health means to you. Excuse me. And then in the post survey, we are asking after the presentation with the mental health, with the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds and Dr. Stevens and Miss Carletta Jackson Lane, after they presented their information, and you can play it back and watch it, how do you feel about the information that was shared with you? And it's just 4 questions in the pre-survey and 4 questions in the post-survey, but the information is critical to our research and getting the services out to folks. Okay, so look for that survey link, the 2 survey links in the comments. Add any comments, personal comments of your own, any questions you might have, and reach out to me. I'll include my email in the ticker coming up below. But I do have some more content coming up in just a second here. with Coach Wayne Hayes and his family, and a little bit more from the Bay Area Mental Health Hour with me, Alicia Mayo. So thank you again for tuning in. See you in a minute. Today's live stream is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Support the San Francisco Dreamkeeper Initiative, recognizing and investing in the diverse Black and African American communities of San Francisco with a wide range of programs to support youth, families, seniors, and members of the Black LGBTQ+ communities. Dreamkeeper San Francisco is fostering hope for generations of Black people to feel free to dream boldly. Visit dreamkeepersf.org today.
Time in, game time, I'm back. Like I told you, I was going to come back and we was going to talk about some ways we going to win this game. Because the season ain't over. It's never over until the final whistle. You understand me? So with that being said, I wanted to talk to you about the game plan. How we going to fight either one of these opponents, whether we're facing behavioral health or mental health and all of the different alignments and offensive, defensive strategies each of them may come in our lives with. We got to be ready at all times, if you know what I mean. And you got to hit hard. And when you hit, come hitting hard. Are you ready? Yeah. And with that being said, I want to discuss our game plan. Now, see, and I could only speak from my perspective, and I'm not too shabby on the scoreboard. I've won my fair share of conferences and this and that. But I don't like to toot my own horn. But boop, boop. Anyway, with the game plan that I want to run, at the top of the list for me is always nutrition. You got to eat, and when you eat, you got to eat right. So I want to encourage you to eat color. Don't go in the back of the store. Shop in the front of the store where the fruits and the vegetables and the different things like that. I'm not going to get too far into detail, but if anything, check with your doctor if you have some special ways you're supposed to eat. I eat all natural, if you can see. You did all natural. But anyway, after nutrition, you got to exercise. You see me with all this equipment on. Listen, you got to stay active. Everything you do got to be active. Don't let your check engine light come on and then now all of a sudden you want to change the oil. Listen, you got to stay up on top of yourself. Your conditioning is everything. And while we at it, while we outside, I'm going to do mine in the nature. Spend time in the nature because that's what works for me. I'm only talking about my strategic game plan. Everybody can configure theirs that fits them. And sometimes you can check with a doctor. Listen, after exercise, you got to get your proper rest. You know, like how they got oral hygiene and body hygiene. They got something called sleep hygiene. And yours need to be good. Look the word up. I just learned that recently, so I had to lay it on you. And also you got the new PPT. I forgot what that meant. I'm going to get back to it. The new PPT. But I know what the MMM mean. That's a lot of meditation. Excuse me. The MMM, now that's if you need medication. And then I encourage meditation. And then a whole bunch of minding your own business. Put that in there. So that's what the M's is for. Medication, meditation, and minding your own business. And I got something over here that says SOFO. You know what that means? Stay off of your phones. Them phones is driving the people crazy. Matter of fact, I was using the phone the other day. I was real early in the morning, and I guess I went to go use the bathroom in the morning. I forgot the phone was in my hand, and I almost wiped my booty with the phone. Touchdown!
Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. Coach Wayne Hayes, Bay Area Zone. Coach Wayne Hayes, y'all. Let me kick this from the studio. That was very entertaining. Thank you so much, Coach Wayne Hayes, for that. That information is important. It's important for us to remember, stay off your phone and mind your own business. I like that, minding your business. Oh Lord, that is so funny. Oh Lord, I hope you guys have enjoyed this presentation this evening. I'm about ready to wrap it up. I have a couple couple more pieces of information to share with you from my own community of friends who created content just for us tonight. Messages, I've got a message from Coach Wayne Hayes and his family. You got messages from a young brother from Oakland, but he touches the hearts of many around the Bay Area and nationally, for that matter. He calls himself Love More, LOOVEMOORE. So I'm going to include his content right now with all of you. Okay, so hey, stay there for just a few more minutes. You ain't got nothing else to do on Friday night. Stay. I see y'all. I see you out there. I see you. Yeah. Put some comments in the comments and I'll include them if you want to include them, that is. I'll be back.
Show your support for Black-owned media with a tax-deductible contribution today. And don't forget to visit Clari-T Media's Tech and Swag store for gear and supplies. Thank you.
Yeah, my name's Love More, and I'm an overall artist from out here in the Bay Area, but I'm really from Earth, the whole thing, man.
I'm invested in Bay unity. The politics ain't new to me. I'm killing this negative shit, and this a eulogy. Aim at your medulla, feel a bullet heat through your therapy. Life is what you make, and I'm carefully and creatively changing the narrative. My pen game strong.
My name is Love More. Right now, I want to talk to you about the importance of mental health. So in this life, we got a lot of things that attach us to this world. We got our mind, we got our body, and our spirit. So that makes up our body and our vessel. So you could be in a room, nobody in the room, just in a closet by yourself, but you still got your mind. Your mind is still there active, and that means that you're still alive. So that's separate from your body, your physical vessel. And your spirit is something that is tethering us from the other realm into this realm that's connecting it. It's like our video game character. So it's real important to have our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health all in alignment together. You feel me? So this right here, this symbol right here, is a symbol that identifies that your mind, body, and spirit is think, love, life. So let's talk about mental health now. What is mental health? What is health? Let's break it down. What's health? So health is our state of being. You know, like if you playing basketball, you twist your ankle, now that means that you may not be in such good health because you're not able to do the things that you usually would do if your body was healthy and functioning at its optimal level. So that is what our health is. Whether you're sick, you get sick, you got the flu. Now you're not in the state of being to operate at your optimal level. So that's what health is. Health is when you are operating at your ultimate level, the best version of yourself. So physical health, we know how to do that. Right now, what we got to do, wear masks and wear gloves, wash our hands, get in the shower. We make sure that we just tend to our physical vessel, and that's our physical health. Whether what we eat good food and stuff like that, that all plays into it. So our mental health is the same thing. Right now, this world is really built on making us not accept ourselves, and that is a real big wound to our mental health. How can you feel good and healthy and able to be your optimal self when the world is trying to tell you not to be your ultimate and most optimal self? Because it's not right. Because you think different. Because you're a different type of spirit. You're a different type of being. We're not all meant to be the same type of person. So mental health is real important. For me, personally, I grew up learning how to communicate through argument and roasting. Hey, bro, look at you got all that red on, man. You know what I'm saying? You Sue-Woo gang, you feel me? But I really just want to acknowledge, like, dang, that's a dope red hoodie you got on, you know? The last milk in the refrigerator. Man, who drank this milk, man? Who? I really just want to communicate, but I learned how to communicate through roasting and arguments. So that's something that I got to learn how to redo now in life. So mental health is real important for us to be able to convey our messages. I went to this thing called CODA, it's group therapy. So CODA is for codependency. Group therapy is good because you get perspective from all these different people that's going through the same exact thing that you're going through. And that really helped me gain some perspective on life to be like, oh wow, I'm not the only person going through these things that I go through. And that's real important for our mental health because it seems like how society sets it up that nobody uses the bathroom, nobody farts, nobody has hardship, nobody cries. You know, we only have jolly feelings. And when you do show those other feelings out in the public, it comes across as if, man, there's something wrong with them, they crazy, they tripping. No, that person, yeah, technically they probably are tripping, but it's a reason why. Don't dismiss it. So that's why it's real important to have strong mental health, because when you got strong mental health, you could be an example for other people. You ever heard the saying, if you knew better, you do better? So a lot of times God wants us to be the better so other people could know better to do better. And that take a lot of bravery. You know, you can't be brave unless you overcome fear. So fear is an important tool for us. That's an emotion that's very important for us. When you're scared, oh, what is that? You look around, yeah, it's important to be able to be on your swivel, because if you didn't get scared, something that may be harmful to you may happen, but you're not going to react to it and you're just going to get harmed. And that's going to interfere with your physical health along with your mental health, you know? So it's real important to have fear and utilize it as something for us, not against us. And when you overcome fear, that's when you become brave. You can't become brave if you don't overcome fear. And that's like working out. You have to have that resistance of the push-up or the weights or whatever it is running up the hill so that you can actually gain some muscle. So on a physical level, you have to have resistance to build your strength up. And on a mental level, you got a lot of resistance to build up your mental health. And a lot of times we may put too much on ourselves mentally and we end up breaking a mental muscle. Just like physically, if you try to put too much weight, 1,000 pounds, and try to push it up, you might hurt yourself. That's the same way in life if you put too many things on your mental. That's why it's real important to meditate. What meditating is, it's like exercising for your mind. We get a lot of downloads all the time. All the time we get downloads of different ideas. So that's what a download is. It's when you get ideas. You don't know where they came from. You had a dream. You just getting downloads, just like your computer, just like your phone. You just get a download of all this information. Now it's up to you to click the app in your mind and utilize it. And just like you get on Instagram, if you just scrolling just because you see it's there, that means that you're no longer using Instagram. Instagram is using you. So that's how it is when you get the downloads and the new information that comes in. We have to be able to utilize these messages and these downloads for our own purpose. So yeah, we may have a short attention span because we may be getting overwhelmed with the information coming in. And we like, oh, hold on, I already got to focus on what's already on my plate. So that's the importance of you meditating, is because you sit there and you quiet your mind. You have all these things that come into your mind, all these thoughts, ideas that come in your mind, and we need to know what place to put them. We need to be able to be like, okay, that's just a thought. I don't need to act on that thought right now. It's just a thought. I need to acknowledge it and put it somewhere so I can utilize it for when I need it. And that's real important, to be able to organize our thoughts. So that's the importance of mental health, because when you do have these ideas and you want to see your ideas come to fruition, you want to actually make that things that you think about come to real life, you got to have a real strong mental health to take something from a spiritual space into a mental space into this physical space. Before I did this video here, it was a download that came in from someone to ask me to say, hey, I think I should have him make a video. She reached out to me through her mind and told me the idea. Now I'm sitting here making a video, and now it's a physical thing in this realm that y'all actually watching. So it's important to be in tune with that, because that's what we're doing as creators. We're all creators. We're all creators. We're all destroyers. We have to destroy maybe our negative thoughts about ourselves to create more positive thoughts of ourselves. If you want to be more in shape, you got to destroy the person that's not so in shape to create the person that's more in shape. And that's a journey. It doesn't go from 0 to 100 like that. We're not at that point in life to jump through that portal right now. But we will build to that space, and it's really good to get the foundations, and that's what I'm speaking on today. It's our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health. Now, I want to speak about the spiritual a little bit, because all these things go hand in hand. The spiritual health is when you get those downloads, your intuition, when you got this gut feeling, that's the spiritual health. We get good spiritual health when we can trust ourselves and trust our intuition. It's hard to trust your intuition if you've been through traumatic things physically, traumatic things mentally. Because I could be coming in to give you a hug, but you may think, oh, because of trauma, I think you're trying to fight me. No, that's not the reality of the situation. Even though you won't be wrong, because you are ultimately protecting yourself with that fear because of past experiences. But that's not the ultimate reality today in this moment. Because in this moment, I'm literally reaching out to give you a hug, to show you love and embrace you. So that's why it's important to have our physical and our mental health right, because when our spiritual, we get the downloads and a spiritual moment happens for us, we can trust our intuition that's seen past the physical, seen past the mental. It's just something that you just knew. You like, I know something. And when we strengthen that relationship, that's when we become full and we become whole in this realm that we live in right now. So, mind, body, and spirit health is very important. So, this is a constant reminder right here. Think, love, life. Think, love, life. Bam. Now with that being said, I want to show y'all a music video that's based on mental, physical, and spiritual health. Knowing how to transmute the energy and the things that happen into us into positive things that can actually benefit us more than it hurts us. Here we go.
Yes. Hold on, woman. You're not free to go. You're not free to go. You're not
What are
free
you
to
touching
go.
me?
Stand over here.
Get your hands off of me.
Stand over here.
Officer, talk to the
I'm
lady.
sorry?
Talk to the lady.
I understand.
Heavy. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in.
Make fans when I do my dance. Clap hands when I do my dance. I make fans when I do my dance. When I do my dance. When I do my dance. I slide when I do my dance. I glide when I do my dance. I hypnotize when I do my dance. When I do my dance. When I do my dance. They be like, bruh, he gigging. Taking up room on the floor, it's a feeling. I'm in a building and I'm feeling myself. Dance champion, catch me winning a bell. They used to do the worm in the Cabbage Patch. Popping and locking like Alcatraz. Old school, what it do with a boogaloo's ass. If you too scared to dance, make your way to the bag. Yeah, in the lab, I've been practicing. It's in my blood, feeling tribal like an African. Turf dancing, I do it. Everybody loving it, my movements, I'm moving. I make fans when I do my dance. They clap hands when I do my dance. I make fans when I do my dance. When I do my dance. When I do my dance. I slide when I do my dance. I glide when I do my dance. I hypnotize when I do my dance. When I do my dance. When I do my dance. Watch me 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 do my dance. Dance battle first round, Mike Jack, how I beat it. You win some, you lose some. Tonight I'm undefeated. Last time I didn't win, but I gained respect. Now I'm famous on the internet. TikTok, I went viral on them. Tick, tick, tock. Battle whoever, show me my opponent. Tick, tick, tock. Clock stop, now it's time judges. Battle the judge, hope they hold no grudges. Dance like they didn't know it was politics. But we use dance to get us out of it. Alien, another planet where the mothership. People all around the world come together cause of this. I make fam when I do my dance, stay. Clap hands when I do my dance. I make bands when I do my dance. When I do my dance, when I do my dance. I slide when I do my dance. I look tight when I do my dance. I hypnotize when I do my dance. When I do my dance, when I do my dance. I make fans when I do my dance. They clap hands when I do my dance. I make fans when I do my dance. When I do my dance, when I do my dance. I slide when I do my dance. I look tight when I do my dance. I hypnotize when I do my dance. When I do my dance, when I do my dance. Yeah. Watch me do my dance. 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 Free your mind. Free your mind. Free your mind. Free your
Big love to Alicia Mayo for reaching out to me, because I love to connect with my community. And it's real important to have all these different networks, having a connection between the networks. My name is Lovemore, and AAA, always remember, they may do it to you, but don't do it to yourself. Love, nigga.
Yes, love more from the Bay Area, little brother, speaking his truth, right? We cannot get down on our youth about their truth and what they understand, what they know to be true to them, right? So it may sound like a bunch of talk, but that's what's going on in the young minds of Bay Area youth today. A lot. It's a lot. We have to let them unpack all of that. We have to create platforms, give them opportunities to speak and express themselves so they can filter through and understand it for what it is and know that they're going to receive support from all of us folks who are, older than they are. But we can see ourselves in them trying to unpack and unload and understand what's happening around us. And instead of letting them sit in all of that alone and in isolation and all of that, we have to reach out to them, as Dr. Brenda Wade said earlier, to let them know, hey, I hear you. I see you. And yes, what you are talking about is important to me. And I want to make sure that you're okay and that you know that I love you and I support you. And that's what I'm doing on my media platform with young artists, young people who want to express themselves in one way or another. Mainstream media may not do it, but I sure will do it. I will do it. Whenever I'm live streaming, I will share the content, okay? Because that creative process for us is important. It's just as important as any other part of getting through our mental health crisis or moments, or and for the young folks too, right? That's their process. So we have to respect it and appreciate it and recognize it for what it is. And it is the beauty and the growth of our youth. All right. So thank you, Love More, for that. I have one other community member who I reached out to because I love her voice. When I hear her voice is so beautiful and so soft and light that it really lifts and lightens my spirit. So I had to share her with you. And, the quality of the video is not the best quality, but listen to the voice. You can close your eyes if you don't want to watch the video. Listen to her voice. And this particular message I have not heard. So I'll be watching the message with all of you for the first time here. So let me bring it in. And let's see here. I'm going to share the screen. Okay, and I'm going to share my audio. And I'm going to go to the Chrome tab, YouTube, Nisi Living Singles performance. Don't Ask My Neighbor. Okay, she's singing for us. This is a performance just for us here on Clari-T Media tonight for this particular presentation. So sit back and enjoy it with me, folks. Okay, here we
Hi, my name is Nisi Living Single, and I'd like to thank Alicia Mayo for having me on her program today, speaking about mental health. I know this is in San Francisco, but mental health resources is needed everywhere. So this olive branch that she's extending out is so touching to me. It's also compelling because my father has suffered mental health all of his life. And it took me 11 years to finally talk him into getting some help. He's 83 now. He's doing good, and with him doing good, I'm doing great. People don't always look like what they're going through. And mental health over the years, especially in Black communities, has been so misunderstood because you don't have to have something mentally wrong on the onset. You can have a traumatic experience that happens to you, and boom, all of a sudden you have a breakdown. So I'm so thrilled that this is finally going to become something that will manifest to the surface through Alicia Mayo and whomever else that she has on this panel that understands the significant importance of resources, doctors, and those that care. Let's continue to keep that olive branch going from community to community to community. You're looking at a daughter that's a survivor of a father that talked to someone 11 years ago, and he is okay today. Have a good day. You're wondering if I care about you, or if there's some cause that I should doubt you. All I can see, boy, that you don't know me very well. You're so unsure, and you run here and there to ask my feelings. But friends only guess, they can't say really. Mm-mm. Don't ask my neighbor, don't ask my friends that hang around. Don't be afraid to come to me. Don't ask my neighbors, come to me. Don't be afraid. What you see, you'll find I love you. Come to me. Don't be afraid. You ask my friends if I'm the same girl. You don't understand. You think I'm changing. Don't ask my neighbor to hang around. Don't be afraid of what I'm gonna be. Don't ask my neighbor, come with me. Don't be afraid of what you see. You'll find I love you. Don't be afraid, my sweet baby. I love you. Honey, all I do is come to me. Don't ask my neighbors. Come to me. Don't be afraid of what you see. You'll find out I love you. See, my love is true. Anyone can see. Don't ask my baby. Come to me, baby. Don't ask my baby. Come to me. Don't be afraid. Come to me. You can come to me. Don't ask my babies that hang around what you see. You find I love you. Just come to me. Don't be afraid. No.
Every day, in every possible way, we need to stand up to stigma. If you're not sure how, here are ways you can do it. Talk openly about mental health. Educate yourself and others. Be conscious of language. Encourage equality between physical and mental illness. Show compassion for those with mental illness. Choose empowerment over shame. Be honest about your treatment. Don't harbor self-stigma. This is what a collective voice sounds like. It sounds like bravery, strength, and persistence. The qualities we need to face mental illness and to fight stigma. No matter how you contribute to the mental health movement, you can make a difference simply by knowing that mental illness is not anyone's fault. No matter what societal stigma says, you can make a difference by being and living stigma-free.
It's okay, and you should talk to someone about the way that you feel.
Whether it's someone close to you, your mom,
Or your dad.
or a medical professional, talk to someone. Get some help.
Tune in weekdays to the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook. You'll find us covering issues surrounding your everyday coping skills and your mental health and wellness. And remember, your mental health matters as much as your physical health. All right, folks, that's it. It is just before 8 p.m. and I am going to wrap up this edition of the Bay Area Mental Health Hour. We had the San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund's presentation at the beginning of the presentation or of the segment that began at 5 p.m. Okay, this recording will live forever on the Bay Area Mental Health Hour on YouTube and on the Facebook platforms, including Alicia Mayo personal page, the Bay Area Mental Health Hour, Clari-T Media, and all of those platforms where you can find Clari-T Media and me. That's where you'll find this recording. You can play it back to see the San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund's town hall meeting with all of our esteemed practitioners and our wonderful community members who participated in the discussion. You can see the resources being shared in the ticker below, and I'm going to include some more because there are lots of resources out there, but you do have to kind of, pick up the telephone, reach out to some of them to find out what works best for you and your family and or loved one. But again, the recording will live on the social media platform, so you can play it back, get information that you need. Also, look for the survey links in the comments on Facebook and on YouTube so you can participate in the survey. You can answer just 4 questions for us about your experiences with mental health and services and programs in San Francisco. And maybe we can get some information from you that will help us understand your needs. Okay. So, with that, thank you again to all of you who participated by watching and making comments in the comments. I will include, let's see, let me go to a few of the comments now just to read through them from the beginning. I have the pre survey question links there, and the post survey question link is there as well. The first person who participated is Royale Babe. Absolutely, he says, people who authentically care, making themselves and services and expertise available where it's most effective for the people. This is powerful and very necessary. Thank you, Alicia, for spearheading this event and all of you participating. I'm excited to also participate and support this movement however I can. Thank you so much, Royale Babe. And Utuma Belfrey, she added, thank you for bringing transparency to this topic. Please provide me with some connections and resources. And thank you, Atuma. There are some in the ticker there below, and I'll keep running the tickers to make sure that I've shared as much as I could. Yeah. So let me go through a few more of those tickers and comments. Let's see. Love will keep us together. That's true. That is true, Royale Babe. Thank you so much for your comments. And Utuma Belfry, thank you so much for your comments there. Let me look here, see in the private chat if I can. Okay. Yeah, I can include these here. So anyway, folks, again, please watch back, check out the recording and get the information that you need. If you don't find information that you had questions about, I'm going to include my email and ways to contact me through the San Francisco Mental Health Education Fund so that I can answer any questions that you might have or may not have had answered during our presentation. Okay, where is that? I'm looking for my email address. Okay, here we are. Okay, the resources for the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds include the president's contact. Her name is Harriet Stevens. Dr. Harriet Stevens can be reached at sfbhc.org. I can be reached at aliciamayo430@gmail.com or reach out to us at info@sfmhef.org. Our telephone number is there and some other information for the Curry Center, the Baby Y, Rafiki Coalition. That's all running in the ticker there. Those are organizations, community-based organizations that are partnering with the San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds to make sure that they're available to provide resources and information, counseling services, meditation, yoga, massage therapy, and all of that. All of the good approaches to being well mentally, spiritually, and physically. So that's what tonight was all about. If you missed anything, again, check out this recording a little later after I'm done here. But I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed being here, and I just love all of you. You know that. You guys know I love you. I'm doing this with the hopes that I can save some lives and support my people. And that's it. Very simple, a very simple mission, okay, and purpose here. All right, so with that, I will see you all a little later. It's Friday night. Go and get some rest. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe and reach out to me again if you have any questions or comments. And I will see all of you in the near future, okay? So take care. Today's live stream is being brought to you by Clari-T Media. Support the San Francisco Dreamkeeper Initiative, recognizing and investing in the diverse Black and African American communities of San Francisco with a wide range of programs to support youth, families, seniors, and members of the Black LGBTQ+ communities. Dreamkeeper San Francisco is fostering hope for generations of Black people to feel free to dream boldly. Visit dreamkeepersf.org today.
Show your support for Black-owned media with a tax-deductible contribution today. And don't forget to visit Clari-T Media's Tech and Swag store for gear and supplies. Thank you. You're watching Clari-T Media. Out of chaos comes clarity.
The San Francisco Mental Health Education Funds promotes community engagement and empowerment of Black adult men and women and their families. We want to increase the community's involvement in accessing mental health programs and services. And we also are recruiting new Behavioral Health Commission members, ambassadors, and volunteers. Visit www.sfmhef.org or screenshot the QR code and get involved today.